Hey everyone, welcome back. This is episode 3 of the AI Agent Skills Guide series. Today we're talking about something that goes beyond personal productivity. We're looking at how to bring skills into your organization. Not just using them yourself, but making them a shared standard that your whole team can rely on. Most teams start their AI journey by giving everyone access to a model and telling them to just use it. And that works for a while. But pretty quickly, you run into a real problem. Every person has their own prompt style. Every output looks different. Some people get great results, others don't. And all that institutional knowledge, the way your best people write reports, handle customer messages, or prepare analysis, stays locked in their heads. This episode is about solving that problem with skills. So let's start with the first question. Why does your organization actually need skills in the first place? The answer comes down to the limits of relying only on prompts. When your team depends on prompts alone, a few painful things happen. First, people repeat the same instructions over and over. Every time someone opens a new chat, they have to type out the same context. Second, quality varies. Because everyone writes prompts differently, the outputs are inconsistent. Third, the best practices never get shared. The person who figured out the perfect way to summarize a meeting report keeps it to themselves, often without meaning to. And fourth, when someone leaves the team, all of that knowledge walks out the door with them. Skills fix every one of these problems. You build the instructions once, and from that point on, anyone can apply them with one click, consistently, every time. Now, once you're sold on the idea, the next question is, which tasks are actually worth turning into skills? Not everything needs to be a skill. There are 4 clear signals to look for. The first is high repetition. If someone on your team is doing the same task more than once a week, weekly reports, meeting summaries, client follow-ups, that's a strong candidate. The second signal is that there's a quality standard to follow. If your team has a style guide, a coding convention, a specific document format, anything with rules that should be applied consistently, skills are the right tool. The third signal is high variance in output. If the quality of the same type of work swings significantly, depending on who does it, a skill can raise the floor and bring everyone up to the standard of your best performer. And the fourth signal is slow onboarding. If new team members take weeks or months to learn how to produce work that meets your standards, a well-designed skill is essentially a training manual that runs itself. Once you've identified which tasks to target, the next question is how to roll them out. The answer is to do it in 3 stages, and to resist the urge to skip ahead. Stage 1 is the individual level. One person, maybe you, starts building skills for their own work. This is the easiest entry point, because there's no coordination required. You try it, you feel the difference, and you build confidence in the approach. Stage 2 is the team level. You take the skills that worked for you individually and adapt them for tasks the whole team shares. Now everyone is working from the same playbook. The variance drops, the quality goes up, and the team starts to move faster together. Stage 3 is the organizational level. You define standard skills across the whole company, brand voice, reporting formats, code review practices, and you deploy them so anyone can use them. This is where AI capability becomes a true organizational asset, not just a personal tool. So what does an organization actually gain when it embraces skills? There are 4 effects worth highlighting. The first is faster onboarding. A new hire who has access to well-crafted skills can produce work at a senior level from day one because the institutional knowledge is already baked into the tool they're using. The second effect is quality standardization. Instead of hoping that everyone follows the style guide or remembers the right format, the skill enforces it automatically. The standard of your best people becomes the baseline for everyone. The third effect is knowledge retention. When someone leaves the team, their expertise doesn't disappear because the skills they built stay in the system. The knowledge is no longer tied to a person. It belongs to the organization. And the fourth effect is time savings. Every task that used to start with 5 minutes of writing context and instructions now starts immediately. Multiply that across a full team and a full year, and the hours saved are significant. Of course, none of this works without structure. That's where governance comes in. You need clarity around 3 roles: who creates skills, who reviews them, and who deploys them. The creator should be the person who knows the task best, usually a practitioner, not a technical expert. Skills are written in plain markdown, so anyone can write them. The reviewer is typically a team lead or a designated skills manager. Their job is to check for quality, consistency, and accuracy, the same way you do a code review, but for instructions. The deployer is usually someone in IT or a platform admin role. They take approved skills and place them in the right team or organization folder, ideally with version control. The core principle here is simple. Make it easy to create, but careful about what gets published. One more thing worth covering is which platform to run your skills on, because not all platforms are the same. If your team focuses on document creation, presentations, spreadsheets, and general office work, and includes non-developers, Claude Code and Cowork are a great fit. They're designed for mixed teams, where not everyone has a technical background. If you're a software development team managing large code bases, OpenAI Codex handles that workflow well. If your team works inside an IDE and wants AI integrated directly into the development environment, code reviews, test automation, inline suggestions, Cursor and VS Code are the natural choice. And if you need a model-agnostic, multi-agent environment with self-hosting options or access to a shared skills marketplace, OpenClaw is worth exploring. All of these platforms support the Agent Skills Open Standard, which means the skills you build today are portable. Now let's put this all together with a maturity model. Organizations don't go from zero to full skills adoption overnight. It happens in 4 levels. At level 1, you're in the individual experimentation phase. 1 or 2 people are building and using skills for their own work. Maybe 1 or 2 skills total. This is the entry point. It's where almost every organization starts. At level 2, you've reached team standardization. The team has identified its shared workflows and defined 5 to 10 skills that everyone uses. Quality is more consistent, and there's a shared vocabulary around AI-assisted work. At level 3, you've achieved organizational integration. There are more than 20 skills deployed across departments. There's a governance process, version control, and a clear path for approving and distributing new skills. At level 4, you're operating at the ecosystem level. You're not just using skills internally, you're drawing from external skill marketplaces, contributing back to the community, and treating AI capability as a strategic differentiator. Most organizations are at level 1, and that's completely fine. The goal is just to keep moving forward, one level at a time. Here's the big takeaway from this episode. The shift from prompt dependency to skill-based workflows is one of the most leveraged things an organization can do with AI right now. Skills are how you take what your best people know, encode it, and make it available to everyone, reliably, repeatedly, and without starting from scratch every single time. That's it for today. See you in the next one.